Armageddon. And we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Double honors to the other apostles of great Millstone who teach and rule well, and shalom to the sincere Archaeans, pronounced truth and sincerity. Shalom. In this video, I want to cover an article on RT.com, and the title of the article is Global Food Prices Continue to Surge, hitting 7-year highs, United Nations says. So this article is going into how these food prices, are rising, during this, during this pandemic that we, have going on right now. And the Bible speaks about, how there will be a time, great famine upon the earth, and that's what I want to go into, how, the famines that are already going on upon the earth are signs, to basically show us what time that we're in, because as it also says in Matthew 24th chapter, these are the beginning of sorrows, because there will be a huge and major famine upon the earth, and many people are gonna die because of that. And the Most High, he basically made it all written down, on paper, for us to read and to proclaim these words to our people and warn our people, for what's coming upon the earth, because we're being set up as watchmen, as it also says in what is it, Isaiah? Let me look it up. Go on. This is Isaiah chapter 62 verse 6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall neither hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord Yahawah, keep not silence, and give him no rest till he establish, and till he make Jerusalem praise in the earth. So the Most High set watchmen, in their places, which are the prophets of Yahawashi, that are watching out like what's going on upon the earth. And we're measuring diligently, those things that come upon the earth, as it also says in 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter. Where it says, 2nd Esdras chapter 9 verse 1, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And by measuring the time diligently in itself as watchmen, those people that are being set up to look out for what's going on upon the earth, and screening those things that happen with the scriptures, we know that, we're in a certain period of time, and we're basically in the time before the Messiah comes back, whose name is Yahawashi, who's a dark-skinned man from the tribe of Judah, who's coming to redeem his people, the Israelites, so good Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but also those that were scattered among the heathen nations that might look like the heathen nations, but his lineage does go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob according to their father's seed line. Those are the people that, the Most High is going to redeem by His Son Yahawashi. You see? And that's why it also says in Matthew, chapter 24, verse, start off with verse 3. And as He sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto Him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So the disciples asked Yahawashi, when you're going to come back, and what are going to be the signs of you coming back? And this is what Yahawashi said. And Yahawashi answered and said, it's like and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. One of the examples is the so-called white man Messiah that has been given, to the people of the world. That's one of the examples, and many people are deceived thereby. Verse 6, And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. You see, so when you watch the news, you do see these things happening upon the earth. You see that these nations are getting more tense. That there are rumors of wars. Right now, things are escalating. Basically in the Middle East, Iran is basically, how you say it, is very tense. There's a lot of tension going on over there, man. These are all signs of the times that we're in. Verse 7, For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. So verse 7 mentions that there shall be famines. And that's what this, video is going to be about. Because we can see that, that there's pestilences going on upon the earth. Right now we're in a pandemic, And if you look up the earthquakes that are taking place all over the earth, you can see that on a daily basis, earthquakes are taking place, But, concerning the famines, Moses said there shall be famines, upon the earth in diverse places. And I want to read this article, and then I want to look up, on the Wikipedia, a couple of things concerning famines, what this world considers to be famines, and filter that a little bit more through the scriptures. You see? So, this is the article that I already mentioned, and the title is Global Food Prices Continue to Surge, hitting 7-year highs, United Nations says. So it says, a new report by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations shows that the global food commodity prices rose in March, making the 10th consecutive monthly increase. So the the food prices that are rising, as it says in the second paragraph, it says the FAO Food Price Index, which tracks monthly changes in the international price of commonly traded food commodities, averaged 180 points in March, 2.1% higher than February, and reaching its highest level since June 2014. So it says that there have been 10 consecutive months in which the food prices, the food price index has risen, showing you that the price of food, are getting higher and are increasing. This means that if the people's salary is not rising with an equal portion, it means that they eventually have less buying power, meaning they can buy less with the money that they have. Meaning that eventually there's going to be a scarcity concerning food. According to the FAO, the March increase was led by the vegetable oil price index, which rose 8% from the previous month to hit a nearly 10-year high. So, in March, the vegetable oil price index rose 8%, which is the highest in 10 years. Concerning that specific index, with soy oil prices rising sharply due in part to the prospect of firm demand from the biodiesel sector. The dairy price index increased 3.9% from February, with butter prices buoyed by somewhat tight supplies in Europe associated with increased demand in anticipation of a food service sector recovery. Milk powder prices also rose, supported by a surge in imports in Asia, particularly China, due to declining production in Oceania and scarce shipping container availability in Europe and North America. The meat price index showed a 2.3 rise from February, according to the report. The Agriculture Organization pointed out that imports by China and a surge in internal sales in Europe ahead of the Easter holiday celebration underpinned increasing poultry and pig meat quotations. This shows you that the meat, particular meats have increased in price, which is as it says, is in let me look it up, because it's basically an international. I say it. It's a so this is what it says on Google concerning what is FOA, food price index. It says the FAO Slovakia food price index is a measure of the monthly change in international prices of a basket of food commodity. It consists of the average of 5 commodity groups price indices weighted by the average export shares of each of the groups over 2014 and 2016. So it's basically an average, and showing that on average these products have risen in prices. Like I also mentioned, it means that, for instance, if you earn $1,000, a month, just for an example, and you are able to spend 200 euros on your groceries, and you're able to buy 20 pieces of a certain product, from the 200 euro, selected dollars, it means that eventually, if the prices rise, like, let's say, we're going to use the vegetable oil, so we're able to buy 20 pieces, but the prices have risen average 8%. It means that, you at first you were able to buy 20 pieces at a price of $10 each. But right now, the price has risen to basically $10.80, which if you divide to $200 divided by 10.8, it means that instead of those 20 pieces that you're able to buy, you can only buy, 18 and a half. Shows you that you have less buying power concerning those products, man. Showing that eventually you're going to be able to buy less and less for the same amount of money. But going back to the article, it says, by contrast, the cereal price index dropped by 1.8%, but it is still 26.5% higher than in March 2020. The report said, adding, wheat export prices declined the most, reflecting generally good supplies and favorable production prospects for 2021 crops. Maize and rice prices also declined, while those for sorghum rose. It's actually quite coincidentally that my wife, she told me last week, like, that from the branded what is it, cereal that you used to buy, You know, she paid like, you know, 4 or 5 euros for one pack. You know, and then when you go to the cheaper brands, it's like €1.80 or something. But that shows you that these prices are, you know, like crazy, man. Who's gonna pay like $4 or $5 for a pack of cereal, man? That's crazy, man. These prices are rising, man. But hey, the thing is, these things are all prophecy, and these things have to come to pass, man. You know, but you know, these things have to come to pass. So the as the title of the article says, the global food prices are rising. Eventually, people are gonna have less buying power, showing you that they can buy less groceries with the money that they have. You know, which means, you know, they're able to eat less. So this is on the Wikipedia concerning the famine, and famine is a widespread scarcity of food caused by several factors, including war, inflation, crop failure, population imbalance, or government policies. So let me look at what the word inflation goes into. In economics, inflation, or less frequently price inflation, is a general rise in the price level in an economy over a period of time. So what does the word price level go into? The general price level is a hypothetical measure of over prices for some set of goods and services. You see, so this basically goes into you know, the prices for you know, for the things that we pay in the store. You see, so the prices are rising. You know, and it says that, you know, inflation is one of the reasons, you know, for famine. You see, so it says famine is a widespread scarcity of food caused by several factors, including war, inflation, crop failure, population imbalance, or government policies. This phenomenon is usually accompanied or followed by regional malnutrition, starvation, epidemic, and increased mortality. You know, but if it, you know, it is accompanied by an epidemic, you know, it can also be accompanied by a pandemic, which is what we have right now. You know, and also on this Wikipedia page is going into the pandemic that we are dealing with right now, how that's gonna affect the food supply upon the earth. So it says every inhabited continent in the world has experienced a period of famine throughout history. In the 19th and 20th century, it was generally Southeast and South Asia, as well as Eastern and Central Europe, that suffered the most deaths from famine. The numbers dying from famine began to fall sharply from the 2000s. So it says here, some countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, continue to have extreme cases of famine. Since 2010, Africa has been the most affected continent in the world. As of 2017, the United Nations has warned over 20 million are at risk in South Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria in the northern part, and Yemen. The distribution of food has been affected by conflict. Most programs now direct their aid towards Africa. You know, so the last thing that I read concerning the Wikipedia went into these nations in Africa that were dealing with famine, you know, due to conflict. You know, but it shows you, as it said in Matthew 24:7, where it says, "For nations shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places." So it shows you that, you know, the things that the Bible talks about concerning these famines in diverse places, you know, are already taking place upon the earth. You know, there already are famines upon the earth, you know, that the Most High is bringing. So it says a definition. According to the United Nations World Food Program, famine is declared when malnutrition is widespread, when people have started dying of starvation through lack of access to sufficient nutritious foods. And this is going to happen upon the earth, man. This is what's going to happen. Because what it says in the book of Second Esdras is the following. And I'm going to first read 2nd Esdras chapter 15 verse 5, where it says, "Behold, said the Lord Yahawah, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." You see, so the Most High is going to bring the sword, which goes into these famines, these wars, these uprisings, purge-like situations, but the Most High is going to bring destruction upon the earth, by the sword, which is the modern-day sword, is the gun. It says famine, death, and destruction. You see, so here it says the Most is going to bring these famines upon the earth. You see. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 16 verse 22. "For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." See, so this shows you that a lot of people that are going to be upon the earth, shall perish of famine that the Most High is going to bring upon the earth. And those that don't, die of the famine, the sword is going to destroy them. They're going to perish, by the gun, man. They're either going to die in the wars. They're either going to die when people are going to break into their house and shoot them to see what kind of goods, what kind of spoil they can get, from their places. But the point is, the Most is going to bring a famine upon the earth, which is prophesied in the scriptures. You see? Reading on concerning the definitions on the Wikipedia, says the integrated food security phase classification criteria define phase 5 famine of acute food insecurity as occurring when at least 20% of households in the area face extreme food shortages with a limited ability to cope, and the prevalence of acute malnutrition in children exceeds 30%, and the death rate exceeds 2 people per 10,000 per day. Hey, what the Most High is going to bring upon the earth is going to be worse than what's written over here. See, the declaration of a famine carries no binding obligation on the United Nations or member states, but serves to focus global attention on the problem. When the thing is, prophesying about these things, we know that the Most is going to bring these things upon the earth. We also know that we're not able to save ourselves. We know that Yahawashi is the only one that's able to keep us safe in those times that are ahead of us. Showing you that these things that come upon the earth, are reserved for those people that don't return to Yahawashi in truth and sincerity. Because it says in the book of Sirach, which is an apocrypha, also being called the book of Ecclesiasticus, it says that these things are basically, for the wicked. It says, Sirach, chapter 39, verse 28, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction." You see, so it says, fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance, for payback. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. So these things are reserved for the wicked and not for the righteous. Because those people that turn back to Yahawashi, and do all those things, to the best of their ability to get right with Yahawashi, they shall be kept safe. So this is where is it? The part where it says risk of future famine, and this is going into this pandemic that we're dealing with. So it says the Crown 19 pandemic, alongside lockdowns and travel restrictions, has prevented movement of aid and greatly impacted food production. You see, because certain places had to lock down, or food had to be thrown away and things like that. As a result, several famines are forecast, which United Nations calls a crisis of biblical proportions, or a hunger pandemic. This pandemic, in conjunction with the 2019 and 2020 locust infestations and several ongoing armed conflict, is predicted to form the worst series of famines since the Great Chinese Famine, affecting between 10 and 20% of the global population in some way. You see, so this pandemic that we're dealing with all the measures being taken, the lockdowns and the restrictions, also has a great impact on food, on famine. You see, and we see that the Most High is making plans, and being this great chess player that He is making steps to make these prophecies come to pass. You see, so it might not look like anything bad is gonna happen right now, but hey, just wait to see, man, because as it says in the book of Habakkuk, Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. And what is that vision going into? It's going into a prophecy. So the prophecy is for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. Hey, once it came to pass, it shall be made known that these things were written about in the scriptures. It shall speak for itself. Like, hey, yeah, man, these things written in the scriptures, man. Hey, those people that are gonna turn back to Yahawashi from day to day, they're gonna realize this. They're gonna realize that they made a stupid mistake, not regarding the words that were being spoken by the prophets, who forewarned them of these things. Reading on, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it surely come, it will not tarry. It might look like these things shall not come to pass, but just have patience, because eventually these things shall come to pass. And as I just said, that we've been forewarning the people concerning this. It says in 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 1, if you will speak down the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in their mouth, said the Lord Yahawah. So we have to speak the words of Yahawashi to His people, which are the Israelites. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but also those who are scattered among the heathen nations. That might look like the heathen nations, but it really does go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob according to the father's seed line. You see, we have to speak the words of Yahawashi to those people. You see. Verse 2, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. These things eventually, were written down, and eventually we have the Bible. The 1611 King James Version, which also includes the Apocrypha, which is what I'm reading out of right now. And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. The word faithful goes back to trustworthy, reliable. It means that those things that are written in the scriptures, you can rely upon those things that they should come to pass. So these famines that are written about in the scriptures, the wars that are spoken about in the scriptures, the earthquakes and all those things, all these prophecies should come to pass. Verse 3, for not the imaginations against thee, that not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. You see, so those people that are unbelieving concerning what we're speaking about, proclaiming, hey, don't bother yourself to fear those things or to even care about what they're doing. Verse 4, this is why, because this is what's going to happen to those people. For all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness. You see? All the unfaithful, those that don't believe the words that we're saying and proclaiming, as prophets of Yahawashi, these people are going to die because they didn't believe these things. They didn't prepare themselves by coming back to Yahawashi. You see? And their reward's going to be death. By famine, by the sword, by teeth of wild beasts, but they're going to die. So, let's see. there's not much more, but one last thing that I want to cover, is Matthew 24 again, concerning what we can see upon the earth right now. Because I spoke about in the 6th and the 7th verse of Matthew chapter 24, how we would all see these things before the second coming of Yahawashi. But, this is what it says in verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. So the things that we're seeing right now is just the beginning of what's about to come upon the earth. We're seeing that I just read about how the food prices are rising. You're showing that you have less buying power. It means that you can buy less food with the money that you have. Which means that you're going to have less nutrition to feed yourself. You see, you're going to have less comfort concerning that as well. Because the time of Jacob's trouble is at hand. I already read scripture in 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 5, but I'm going to read it again. Behold, said the Lord Yahawah, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. You see, the only way that you can be kept safe is by turning back to Bahasham Yahawashi, and then He's going to provide you with the protection that you need. As it says in Psalms, the 91st chapter. This is Psalms chapter 91, verse 1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And what is that secret place of the Most High? That is the scriptures, by getting the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of Yahawashi and doing those things that are commanded of you to the best of your ability. Verse 2, I will say of the Lord Yahawah, He is my refuge and my fortress, my power, in Him will I trust. Now I'm going to look at what the word refuge means. Because it's very important to know your words to get a good understanding, of the context. The word refuge goes into protection or shelter, as from danger or hardship. So by turning back to Bahasham Yahawashi, you're going to be protected and sheltered from the dangers and hardships that are going to come upon the earth. And I spoke about what's going to come upon the earth in the times that are ahead of us. You see, so the Most High is going to be the protection and shelter. And because this video is going into the famine, I'm going to bring out a couple of scriptures that's dealing with famine to comfort those people, considering the times that I have. Because, as it says in Romans chapter 15 and 4, it says, for whatsoever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. These scriptures, they give us comfort. They also give us hope. Because we're reading certain things that happened unto our forefathers, in times of distress and danger, that we hope to receive as well, So I'm going to grab a couple of comfort scriptures, and I want to start off with, let me start off with the book of Job, chapter 5. This is Job, chapter 5, and I'm going to go straight to the point. Verse 20, in famine He shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the hand. You see, this is what we can expect, by turning back to Bahasham Yahawashi and do those things that are commanded of us to the best of our ability. If you're a prophet, you go make videos, you go to the highways and byways, and you try to keep the law, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability. Of course, if you just come in this truth new, you're going to slowly start off, and the more you get in this truth, the more knowledge, wisdom, understanding you receive, the more you're gonna grow by keeping those things to your best ability as well. So this is the book of Psalms, chapter 37, in verse let me go to verse 18 first. The Lord Yahawah knoweth the days of the upright. You know, who are the upright? You know, those, you know, that you know, do those things that, you know, are pleasing in the eyes of Yahawashi, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time. You know, what is that evil time speaking about? You know, that's the time of Jacob's trouble, man. Because evil is a compound word. It means, Eve means time and ill means bad. You know, so they should not be ashamed in the bad times. You know, and the worst things, hey, is yet to come. That's the time of Jacob's trouble. And it says, in the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. You know, so we're going to be satisfied with food that the Most High is going to provide. Just an example, you know, when we were being put in the wilderness for 40 years, the Most High sustained us as well. You know, He sustained us with the manna from heaven and with quails. You know, He made sure that we were able to be, you know, to be satisfied, you know, for 40 years. You know, of course, you know, a lot of our people died as well because they were wicked, and those things are gonna happen again unto those wicked people. They're gonna die a terrible death, you know, as spoken about in the scriptures. You know, but the upright, you know, those that are pleasing in the eyes of Yahawashi, you know, they're gonna be satisfied, you know, in the days of famine. You know, this is the last scripture I'm gonna grab concerning the comfort, and then I want to close it off, give a small summary, and then you know. This is Isaiah chapter 65 verse 13. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahawah power, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. You know, so the servants of Yahawashi are those that, you know, turn back to Yahawashi. You know, if you're being made a prophet, you know, you're doing those things that are required of you of being a prophet. If you're not, you know, made to be a prophet, you know, you just try to get yourself, you know, clean to the best of your ability, you know, make sure that you keep the law, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability, you know, be a help unto the ministry, you know, and do those things that, you know, are not required for you concerning the prophecy part, man, concerning being a prophet. You know, but make sure that you do all those other things that are mentioned in the scriptures, you know, to the best of your ability. You know, then the Most High is going to make sure that you're going to be satisfied with food and water and drinks, you know, and protection. You know, verse 14, behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. You see, so those people that rejected Yahawashi, you know, they're not going to be sustained at the time to come. They're gonna cry, weep bitterly, and be in a very pitiful case. You know. So a small summary concerning this lesson. You know, the article that I went into, you know, covered how these food prices, you know, continue to surge or continue to rise. You know, and right now it's hitting a 7-year high. You know, because for the past 10 months, the food prices have been rising. You know, and one of the criteria, you know, concerning famine is when there's a time of inflation, which means the price of the money are rising. You know, right now people are still able to deal with the price changes, but eventually when the food prices rise too high, they're not able to provide themselves with enough food, which means they're gonna have a malnutrition. You know, and you know, right now we can see all these things happening upon the earth, which are foreshadowing the second coming of Yahawashi, who's a dark-skinned man from the tribe of Judah. He's a so-called Negro, you know, with white woolly hair. You know, and hey, these are the times that we're in right now, but it's only getting worse. So turn back to Yahawashi if you're an Israelite, if you're a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American. You know, but also if you look like the nations, you know, but his lineage does go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, according to your father's seed line. You know, and if you might be like, hey, how do I know that? If this truth, if these words are resonating with your spirit, there's a high chance that you might be an Israelite, man. You know, so come back to Yahawashi in order to keep you safe in time to come, because hey, you know, the kingdom is getting closer and closer. You know, and it's either one of two things, man. As an Israelite, you're either gonna be physically there, with this conscience, or you're gonna be born in the kingdom, man. You're basically a nutsack Israelite. So choose either one. You're gonna be a nutsack Israelite, or you're gonna be there, with your current conscience, knowing everything concerning the old world, and things like that. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying, and I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. The honors to the elder apostles of great Millstone, who teach you well, and shalom to the sincere Akiams, furnish truth and sincerity. Shalom.